One thing that we know the youth respond to is Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday.
The North Texas Honda dealers want to help you score on award-winning Hondas like the rugged and reliable 2023 Ridgeline. Stop by your Helpful Honda dealer today or visit ntxhondadealers.com to learn more.
So if you've got questions about high school football, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, get them in right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We'll answer as many as we can until I have to go get a haircut. So we will get into all of that. Now, Pickle, I posed to you a question before we get to some questions from the peeps.
Yeah.
About your favorite Texas city under 150,000 people. And I told you that Atlanta off limits because that's your hometown. Obviously, you love your hometown.
Yeah.
Very proud of that. But what is your favorite city outside of under 100? Basically outside the top 20.
Yeah. Well, it stinks because I have two. Can I do one bigger, one smaller?
Sure. You can do it, like a small, big town.
Yeah.
Or and then like a small town.
Yeah. Because the big one would be Denton. They're at 130 something.
That's what started this conversation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On Wednesday we talked about Denton, and we were like, it's kind of on that cusp of like not quite a small town, but not quite a big city.
Yeah. That's my favorite part about Denton is if you go anywhere on the loop, it feels like you're in a big city. You can go to whatever restaurant you want or whatever store you need or anything like that. But if you get inside the loop and you're around doing all like the community events on the square, it feels like hometown. So Denton would be my big answer. For small answer, Port Aransas. That one, that they only had it wasn't that many, 3,000-ish or so. Obviously, right. It's a tourist location,
sure.
But Port A is the easy answer if you want to do like actual favorite city.
There is my father. Hello, my father-in-law really wants to go to the beach with the boys, and
it's the best experience when they're little.
Like I told him, we just go to Port A. We don't need to get super fancy or anything. We just go to Port A, and so we might. I need to ask my folks. I don't think I've ever been to Port A.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I've
heard wonderful things.
Yeah, my uncle had a beach house. It was his parents' house that then he decided to keep afterwards and let the family use. So it was actually on Padre Island. When I say that, everyone is always like, "Oh, South Padre," and it's like, no, that's down by the RGV. It's different. Padre is right between Corpus and Port Aransas. So yeah, we would go to the beach every single year on Port Aransas. That's a fun going home type trip for me.
Got it. Very cool. All right, let's get into questions from the people. Has anybody asked us any questions?
Yes. I'm going to start off with this one. This one's from me. What was your favorite wine that you tried in Fredericksburg last weekend / favorite, the boards, I can't say the word.
Charcuterie?
That one. Item or combo. So my absolute favorite wine down in Fredericksburg, if you go to Fat Ass Ranch and Winery, they have a blueberry wine. A blackberry wine. A blackberry wine that is absolutely outstanding. I am not much into anything sweet. I like really dry stuff. That is the one more on the sweeter side wine that I will absolutely enjoy. I got 2 bottles to bring back home. A couple of my friends asked me for bottles to bring back home, so we came back with a lot of blackberry wine from Fat Ass. It is outstanding.
Okay.
So
blackberry wine.
It is exceptional.
Okay.
All right. With magazine season approaching, what was your favorite?
Why would you say that?
This is Matt's step because he is fiending. He's up in Canada, so he has to get his fill.
I'm looking at the budget right now.
What is your favorite part about putting the magazine together, and your least favorite part?
My favorite part's when it's done. My least favorite part's when we start. No, that's not true.
I'm gonna hit hard agree there.
I always love the cover shoot. That's an easy answer, right? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody who's on the cover is excited about it. I think especially we got spoiled last year with Joey McGuire and Jeff Traylor, who were obviously so excited to be on the cover, and then South Oak Cliff, they were super fired up to be on the cover as well. So that's always really fun. I do get a sick sense of satisfaction on the data organization side of it, because I am Pickle's on these emails now. So one of my deep held loves is tracking the number of questionnaires we have in.
Yes.
And every Friday, You are on these emails now. I sent an email to our boss, functionally to keep our boss, like theoretically, it's to keep him in the loop.
Yeah.
On how we're doing.
But really, you just get
But really, I just I love crunching the numbers and like understanding where we are compared to past years because I track it. I have it tracked by how many we have each week, tracked back to 2016. And so like I have all this data and I can tell you like when we made like a really big leap and when we've done really well and when we're behind and when we're ahead and stuff. And so that is like sick satisfaction on my part. That's one of the things that I actually do enjoy is like watching him come in and then obviously reading it. And then I do, I love writing for the magazine. I don't know. It's fun.
For me, my favorite part of magazine season is editing. And I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like there's multiple parts to this. One, that means that the end is in sight. That means that we are on like the final 2 weeks.
So you're talking like reading pages.
Yeah, reading pages. It's like the big push. And it's really cool to see like, okay, hey, like this is actually all coming together. Like we're almost there. So that is really fun. The other thing that I love about that is then I'm not on my computer, which is a nice break from that. And then third, I can print out the pages and I put them on a clipboard and I go to the pool and I read the pages because I literally do the exact same amount of work sitting here or sitting at the pool. So that's my favorite part.
I will hold back our $1 billion idea.
Yeah, let's not bring that to air. My least favorite part of putting the magazine together is anything that has to do with headshots. Whether that is, I have been the person to organize the headshots. So what we do is part of the questionnaire is coaches are able. It's not mandatory, but they can send in headshots of their players. Yeah. Someone has to go through and organize every single headshot that gets sent in.
I used to be the one who did that.
And then classification, region, district, all of that. Like, I mean, you have so many folders, so that stinks. But then this year, Mallory did that. I didn't have to do that. But I did have to, when you go in and I organize pages or laid pages, and when you have to go in and put the headshots in, anything that has to do with headshots has always been the most gruesome, grueling task.
But one of the things, so here's one of the things that I do appreciate about this magazine and putting it together, is there is, and I think you discovered this, or you have in recent years, because last year was your first year laying out. A lot of it is just, it's not difficult, it's just tedious. It's a lot of tedium. And so I really do enjoy putting on headphones, putting on some lo-fi chill hop beats to study/relax to.
Yeah. Especially at that point, it's usually kind of rainy outside. If you can get a nice rainy night when you're laying out pages.
Just jamming and powering through about 3 hours of work and stuff like that. That's really nice. So yeah, that's probably, but as far as my least favorite part, I don't know. Like, I do not enjoy laying. This is gonna sound weird, but laying out the index is a pain.
Yeah. Oh, playoff results.
Oh,
that's it. That's your Achilles heel. You hate playoff results.
So in the magazine for each classification,
because you always say, "Ish, we have to do it this year," and y'all both just go.
And you may remember
you redesigned it.
You may remember a couple years ago. Go back and look in like maybe the 2020-2021 edition. We decided to dial it back. Instead of listing the score for every playoff game, we just did like the regional finals and the champion. Like we were like, what if we just do this? And we got enough people who wrote in and were like, I don't like this. Like, please go back to this. I use it as a reference tool in the future. And that is the strange thing about the magazine is that we have to balance of a lot of different things because we are a narrative publication. Like we want you to read our cover stories. We want you to read the features. We want you to read these, read all these things that we put a lot of work into. But we are also like a dictionary. Like we are reference material. And so we have to balance that. And so, yeah, the playoff results is an all-time beating.
You know, the other thing I didn't mention about
I forced it out of my brain.
The other thing I didn't mention about the editing side of stuff that I really love is actually that's incredibly valuable to me, like personally, because you don't realize how much of that information you retain because you're looking for parentheses that aren't right in the heights and weights. You're looking for spelling errors or grammatical errors or that kind of stuff. But it is truly shocking about like now that am obviously well versed in Texas high school football, now all of that stuff starts to stick, and you see a player and you're like, oh, I didn't know he was back this year, or oh, this coach went there, I need to remember that. It is actually a super good 2-week studying tactic for me to get ready for the season. That's why I love the editing portion.
You are spot on that, like, when you get done with this magazine, well, especially like if you work here, because I know I've told this joke before, but like people come to me and say they read our magazine cover to cover, and I always tell them like, no, you don't.
You don't.
Like, you don't. Like we do.
Yes.
We read every page of this
single
magazine,
page.
and when you get to the end of it, you really have taken like a full-on doctorate level course in high school football and college football too.
Right.
Of like, you feel like you know it all.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like I always read all the small college stuff too, or the sub FBS sections.
I think we're calling it non-FBS.
Non-FBS. Okay, we got to decide what we're calling it because I never know what to call it anyway. In the past, it's been small college pages, so I'll just say that for now. And it's like I would not know barely anything about any of those teams if I didn't do the research on that beforehand. So the editing is a really fun time.
I will say this, and I'm not doing it this. I'm not doing it this year because we have Corey Hogue on staff. But the past couple of years, I've written either the Prairie View A&M section or the Texas Southern section. And in past years, I've written the SWAC preview as well. The SWAC is just, in past years, it has been a real hole in my knowledge base as far as college football is concerned. I think because like they just don't have a great TV deal and they're like almost never on TV. Stuff like that. But I felt like when I wrote those,
you could hold your own at that point.
Like I was really excited. I wrote the Texas Southern preview this year, and I found myself on Saturdays like seeking out Texas Southern games to watch it because you really get to know these programs, and like you talk with Clarence McKinney and you figure out like how he's feeling about the team, and you feel like you know the team. Like I imagine one of the things. So Mike Craven is going to write. Well, I budgeted it out. Our senior college writer. He's going to write 12 of the 13 FBS sections. Because remember, Sam Houston's an FBS team now. He's going to write 12 of the 13 FBS sections. And I asked him, I was like, do you want me to kind of spread these out? And he just said, he's like, no, like this is such a great crash course for me because I get to go and talk with these guys and I need to know these teams inside and out anyway. And so, it is drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
But like at the end, you're like, I feel like I just know so much just off the top of my head that I should. You now understand, you've worked here long enough that I've described the way my brain works as like an illness, as like a sickness.
Yeah.
And now you get it.
Yeah, it's because you read the encyclopedia front to back almost multiple times. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, yeah, what do you need to know? And then it just pops into your brain.
It's wild, right?
Yeah, it really is. Well, and yeah, to think about doing this job without doing all that studying in the off season, it would be impossible. It would be literally impossible.
Is you and when you talk about when we finish this magazine, like we're exhausted, obviously, but like we're also like jonesing at that point because we're like we've been waiting
reading
for this.
about this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, what's next?
Let's see.
Get your questions in, nerds.
There was one that I was gonna say. No, there's actually a lot of questions.
You've got an
how many Cinderella teams crash the playoffs on average? Would you say?
That's a good question. You know what? Actually,
I'd say like big crashes. 3.
Let me see
4?
if I can find this. So our data partner Jerry Forrest sends out this thing every year, and I want to see if I can find this really quickly. You may just have to listen to me, rant and rave and stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, here we go. So we have this. So based on the magazine, from the magazine, there are 704 UIL Texas high school football playoff teams, right? We correctly predicted 590 of them. 590 out of 704. Which is pretty good, I would say. 590 out of 704. I would say, so that means that we got 114 playoff teams wrong. Teams that we predicted to be out of the playoffs that made the playoffs. I would say, this is me doing some back of the envelope math. That's 114. Half of that is, oh gosh, why did I set myself up for this? Half of that is
114.
57.
Yeah.
57. Half of that is 57. I would say 57 of them were bubble teams, right? Yep. Teams that were predicted to be fifth, but they won the right game and got in.
Some of them also with that come from tiebreakers.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we thought this team would finish fifth, and they ended up having the tiebreaker to get in.
50, let's say 57 of them are, about half of them, those are they were on the cusp, and like we really thought a lot of them, but like we thought this other team was going to win. Mm-hmm. We got that game wrong.
The gap between 3, 4, and 5 was narrow.
Small enough, right? So I would say my final answer is 57. That is my official guess for how many
it's
true
educated.
surprises there are every year as far as crashing the playoff party that we just didn't see coming.
Yeah.
About 57 would be my guess. Yeah. Now, of course, you can declare that in a different way. Like, for example, a team like Harmony, which I believe we had in the playoffs, or maybe like right outside the playoffs, but then they go, maybe we didn't, but then they go on that incredible run throughout the playoffs and make it into the state semifinals. That would be a different kind of Cinderella, where like once they get hot in the playoffs. But as far as teams that made the playoffs that we didn't think were going to get there, I would say my guess is 57.
I like it.
Of teams that were true surprises to be in the postseason. All right, let's do 2 more.
2 more? All right. What do you think of Kirk Martin returning to Manville?
Yeah.
Does this move Manville back into the state title contenders list?
It's interesting, right? It's a very, very intriguing job. I don't think Kevin Hall did a poor job at Manville.
No.
Quite frankly. I think that for Manville, one of the things that has been a challenge for them is that the past couple of years, well, first of all, I think moving up, being 5A D1 is tough. That's tough, especially there in Region 3, which has gotten increasingly more difficult. I think that Region 3 was a real bear this year with Smithson Valley, College Station, Fulshire to a certain extent, and teams like that. They are also, and this is a very Manville thing to do, they are almost always very senior heavy. Mm-hmm. They play a lot of seniors. And so every year when you look in the magazine, they've only got like 3 and 4 starters returning because they just play a ton of seniors. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of at the mercy of guys getting up to speed. And the other thing, the elephant in the room here is the addition of Shadow Creek, right? That they are,
which was why it was so big when those two played each other in week 1 of the season this past year.
That Shadow Creek has been pulling kids from Manville theoretically, and that hurts, right? That's a real that's a real tangible thing, and this would be the time when you would be feeling that. Now, I do think that Kirk Martin is a great coach. I think he proved that at Colleyville Heritage. He proved that at Manville before then. He don't need to prove anything. I am very intrigued by him returning because he is returning to a different Manville. He's returning to a program that is that the circumstances have changed because of Shadow Creek, because of the way that they draw to those schools, and simply because, look, they're not that big bully on the block like they used to be. And so he needs to rebuild Hoka-Hay as being one of those teams that you hate to play. And, there have been teams that have been able to wound them recently. And I think that he one of his challenges is going to be kind of to rebuild that kind of invincibility, that, oh man, final boss type idea.
You want to go back to walking off the bus and being up 14, because that's what they were for.
Being like, dang it, oh man, we have to play Manville this year. So anyway, I'm very intrigued by it. I think that it is a different job than the one that he left, and that is what's going to be really interesting. Left is a strong word. He went to the college ranks, and
right.
You know what I mean. All right, you got an ender?
I do. If you could live in another state, what state would it be and what city?
I mean, like, the easy answer is like Hawaii, but
yes. Yeah, give me one, like, let's say retirement setup, and then one, like, actual feasible living setup.
I mean, I'd want to retire to, like, somewhere near the water. You know what I mean? So, like, but, like, then again, I'd want to retire to, like, Corpus Christi, or, like, Port Isabel. But, if that's off limits, yeah, maybe like Hawaii, or maybe like
Mine would be Boca Raton, Florida. It's a hard hitting like retirement community already, so there's like activities for you to do.
So you just want to play pickleball all day.
Hell yeah, and bingo. I'm big into bingo.
Yeah, Florida doesn't interest me, to be real honest. A lot of Florida people there. It's one of the big drawbacks. Yeah, I would move there. I would say a realistic thing is that like I have always, and I know this is going to go against a lot of the things that I've said in the course of over the course of this program.
Mm-hmm.
So bear with me. I understand the hypocrisy that's going to leave my mouth.
It'd be a fake.
I've always thought it would be fun to live in Chicago. Like, I think Chicago.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
I think Chicago is. Yeah, I think Chicago, as far as like big cities in America.
Yeah.
That would be the city that I would want to live in.
I hate wind and
outside
cold,
of
so
Texas.
the windy city
That's the
does
problem.
not bode well for
the,
me.
The problem is the weather, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I've been to Chicago enough, and I just like the whole vibe.
The vibes.
I just like the vibes. Atlanta's an interesting choice too. Although the sprawl there is very real, very much like DFW, and Houston for that matter. But yeah, I mean the easy solution is just don't leave Texas.
Yeah. If I had to do a more feasible thing, I think like Boca or Key West or somewhere down in Florida for a retirement type of thing would be awesome. If I had to say like a feasible thing, I really like Georgia. I think Georgia's really pretty. I think that it like the weather is something that I can handle. It obviously
you can go
gets
to Savannah Bananas games.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Savannah would be awesome, or anywhere kind of on the little countryside out there. I do like Georgia a lot.
That's not bad.
I can't do cold. I mean,
that's the thing.
And that's California would be fantastic.
The one drawback, but
it's so expensive to live out there.
For sure. But the other thing, I'd live in Las Vegas. The other thing,
we'd never see you again.
You really never would. I would never leave the casino.
No.
But the other yes, weather in Chicago for a lot of the year is but summer in Chicago is pretty choice.
See, and that's where I like a North Carolina, like a Charleston, North Carolina. Like I think I could do that. Like it's definitely going to get a little bit colder, but it would be beautiful during the summer, and that's like big boat town water side. That would be cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think I could do Charleston.
That's going to do it for us. Look at us. A full week of shows.
Wow.
All it took
Go
was
TFT.
getting to February 17th. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to Reed Heim, the head coach of the Denton Guyer Wildcats, for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We will see you Monday on Texas Football Today.